Good evening. Welcome to the Gautier City Council meeting tonight, Tuesday, February the 7th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. I ask that you please silence all your electronic devices. We will have the prayer by our planning director, Mr. Scott Ankerson, our pledge of allegiance by Councilman at-large Adam College. Please stand.
Father God, we bow before you tonight. We give you honor, we give you praise. We thank you for your mercies, God, your grace. Lord, we ask for your presence here tonight in this meeting. Give our city leaders discernment, wisdom, and unity tonight as we conduct city business. Lord, we ask for your hedge of protection around all of our first responders, God. We thank you for that continued protection. Most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, and his sacrifice for our sins on Calvary's cross. And all this we ask in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman College, and thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Also, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. We got a great crowd in the audience, and we're glad to have all of you to come see what's going on in your community and get updates on projects, and also to see positive things happening in the community also. Do we have a motion, any changes to the agenda order of approval? Besides, we need to add an announcement under it's number 4. The Mardi Gras tailgate will be at 2 p.m. on Saturday, February the 11th, 2023. And under the presentation agenda, we need to number 1 should be honoring a proclamation honoring Catholic Schools Week. 2, a proclamation commemorating National School Counseling Week. And then 3 will be the Martin Bluff Road widening update by Jeff May, Michael Baker International. Do we have any other changes? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda order approval with changes?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Gilad.
Second.
Second by Councilman College. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our announcements by our city manager, Ms. Paula Yancey.
The groundbreaking ceremony for Gauchier's amphitheater will be this Friday, February the 10th at 1 p.m. at the amphitheater site, which is the County Commons Park site. The Mardi Gras tailgate will begin at 2 p.m. on February 11th, 2023, and will go to 9 p.m., I believe. The band Crosstown will be there to play from 4 to 9. They will stop playing so the parade can roll. The parade rolls at 7. The parade is put on by the Gautier Men's Club. Tasty Thursday will be February 23rd, starting at 11 a.m. at the former City River Mall property. And Gautier Senior Center's paint party will be February the 28th from 1 to 3 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Yancey. That brings us to our presentation agenda. 1 is a proclamation honoring Catholic Schools Week. I will read it. The proclamation was presented to Ms. Sisson, the principal, and Father Doss for the priest at St. Mary's Catholic Church here in Gautier, along with our school students who attend school at RCS High School received the proclamation. It's a proclamation honoring Catholic Schools Week, whereas Catholic Schools Week is an annual national celebration of the important role that Catholic education plays in providing a comprehensive values-based education. And whereas there are approximately 7,575 students in 29 Catholic schools and early childhood centers in the state of Mississippi. And whereas we recognize the commitments of parents and guardians, teachers, and auxiliary personnel who have continued to provide outstanding education to students in Catholic schools throughout the state of Mississippi. And whereas this year's theme of Catholic schools is faith, excellence, and service. celebrates the contributions of Catholic schools to Mississippi's education system. And now, therefore, Casey Vaughn, Mayor, and the council members of the city of Gautier, Mississippi, do hereby proclaim the week of January the 29th through February the 4th, 2023 as Catholic Schools Week, and encourage residents to recognize the dedicated efforts of the faculty, students, and parents. And witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Gautier, Mississippi to be affixed on this, the 7th day of February 2023. Casey Vaughn, Mayor, Gautier, Mississippi. Second proclamation. This one will be for National Counselors Week, and we have Mr. Edward C. Burko, who is the Resurrection Catholic School Counselor and Athletic Director, Cross Country Track Coach. If you could come up front and receive this proclamation. The Pascal of Gautier School District Counselors for the City of Gautier that are in the City of Gautier had a prior commitment and cannot attend this evening, but they will receive their proclamation. A proclamation commemorating National School Counseling Week, whereas school counselors are employed by public and private schools to help students reach their full potential. Whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents or guardians focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process and enables all students to achieve success in school. Now, therefore, I, Casey Vaughn, Mayor of the City of Gautier, do hereby proclaim February the 6th through the 10th, 2023 as National Counseling Week. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of the City of Gautier, Mississippi to be affixed on this, the 7th day of February 2023. Mayor Casey Vaughn, City of Gautier, Mississippi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Would you like to say anything about?
Well, I mean, without a doubt, I got into the profession to help children, and that's what we do. You know, as counselors, it's unfortunate that the Gautier counselors couldn't be here, but they are doing counseling activities as we speak. They are giving the course selection sheets for the students to choose their courses for next year, and all those courses are based on career choices that the children make. So very glad to be in this profession and excited that y'all recognize this as our weekend. And it's a federal week, by the way. It's our ASCA organization that recognizes this as our week. So thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank everyone.
We're going to go photo with you, all the council members stand, and they'll stand up and say
Please stand up. Let's go.
Act like you love each other. Come on. And also turn the camera on.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Love, congratulations.
That brings us now to the Martin Bluff Road Widening Update by Jeff May with Michael Baker International.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening. You want to walk around, Jeff, to the, you can walk around.
Don't step over it.
I don't want you to fall.
You want me to turn the lights on?
You good to sit here?
Is that good?
Turn this one.
Yeah,
Will they go
line
well?
up.
There we go.
It might be better to turn these off.
Don't nobody leave.
All right. Yes. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. If y'all can see me, I'm right here by the podium. And my name is Jeff May, I'm with Michael Baker. If you recall, I was here a few months back and gave you kind of an update, and I appreciate the opportunity to come again and give you a little more of a project update, and hopefully be able to answer any questions that you may have. One thing I did wanted to do tonight is, so we've had a little bit of a change in staff. As you all know, Sean Wozencraft was helping us run this project, and he's had to go out on medical leave of absence. So I was lucky and very fortunate enough to be able to hire Mr. Craig Overstreet, who is behind me, to come on as our project manager. Craig is a very seasoned
Could you speak a little louder, please? It's hard for us.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Thank you.
Craig is a very seasoned professional engineer. He's run many a project very similar in nature to the Martin Bluff Road project, so we're very pleased to have him on board. And we have listed here the primary team members that interact with the city staff kind of on a daily and weekly basis. That's myself and Craig. Joe Peru and Kenny Derricks are our on-site project representatives, so if anytime you see a Baker truck sitting out there during the day, one of those gentlemen are in the truck. And this is a very similar slide that you saw last time. This is just the information on the project. Of course, our contractor is Gulf Breeze Construction. They're a local contractor from here in Gautier. We issued the notice to proceed in November the 18th of 2021. And the contract duration for this project is 279 working days. And Craig's going to talk a little bit later about working days and that definition and how that plays into the whole schedule. And then right now, our current total construction cost is $7,485,008.80. And this cost does reflect, we've had a small supplemental agreement, which was a reconciliation of the water and sewer items. It was actually a deduct in about the amount of $11,000. So it's a little bit lower than what the actual as-bid price was. So if you see some numbers from the past and you look at this one, that is why that's reflective of that. And with that, I'm going to let Craig talk a little bit, because I really want y'all to get to know him and know what his abilities are and be comfortable with him and be able to call him if you have any questions.
I appreciate Jeff calling me seasoned. That's a nice way of saying old. But I'll take what I can get. My name's Craig Overstreet. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of y'all tonight about the project. Just real quick, going through some bullet points on some work completed so far. Installed over 3,000 feet of storm drain. That's the bulk of the storm drain on the west side of the project. We're still working on the drainage on the east side of the project. When I say east and west side, I'm talking about the widening portion that's under construction right now, not the total project length. We've installed our traffic signal poles. It says foundation, we've done that, and I have also installed the poles. If you go by there every day, you notice the poles are up. We haven't installed the mast arms yet. We're waiting for those to come in and some other equipment to come in before we install those, but the poles themselves have been put up. Completed the installation of the water mains like Jeff mentioned. The water mains are installed, that utility work and reconciled, and our new water lines were tested and been put into service. And completed shifting traffic to the south side of the road so that we can install those safety barriers and continue work on the north side. Thank you. One of the things that we get a lot of questions about is the relationship of the engineer, the contractor, and the owner, and how those things interact. So I wanted to touch on that just really briefly, and just kind of talk about the fact that Jeff and I represent the engineer. We're representing you guys out on the projects. We're in charge of designing the project and making sure that it's built to the plans and specs that were bid on. Contractor Gulf Breeze is in charge of the day-to-day operation. So this is a snip from the MDOT manual or standard specifications, and the key thing that want to point out there is that the engineer doesn't have any contractual ability to direct the means and methods of the contractor. So the contractor has a contract to complete a set of work in a given set of time. How he goes about that and how he mans that is his business. That's how contractors make money, is being efficient and doing that more than the next guy. So that's just a real quick synopsis of what our relationship is with the contract. Thank you. This is just some photos of some ongoing construction activities. You can see, I mean, they're real exciting, I know. I mean, road work is really sexy stuff. So we've got, you know, one of the mast or one of the traffic signal poles going on there. And then you can see some utility work and some road widening on the south side of the road. So I would hazard a guess that most of you guys see something similar to this every day. So that's why you're here. More construction activities. This is stuff you may not be able to see on the other side of the barricade. So these are drainage pipes and forming up for different boxes and other drain inlets and those sorts of things. So that's ongoing work that's out there. Most of the mainline pipe has been laid, like we talked about, and they have been forming up the boxes and kind of tying all that in together. So to note on that, current work, installing storm drain pipe and inlets, construction of the signalized intersection, excavating for the placement of stone. So you probably noticed on the far west end, they started kind of digging back, getting ready to put in our stone and build up our road bed. And then removing abandoned water main as we come across. More wonderful construction activity. Got pipe laying and more boxes. So that's pretty much what we got. Upcoming elements of work. So we're going to continue working on storm drain. I know we're hammering on that, but on that east end down there, we're going to get started on there, and then on the west end, we'll start on the roadway construction. This is a cross section of where we're at right now. You can see on that left side is phase 1 construction. You can see right there, kind of in the middle is the barricade, and then where our traffic flow is on the south side of the road there. That's what we got currently. One thing, I think this was in the previous presentation, and we wanted to bring it back again. You guys know as well as I do, we had a really wet summer last year, an oddly dry early fall, and then really wet toward the end of the year again. So weather has continued to be an issue. That site, doesn't have a lot of fall to it, so when it rains, it tends to get wet and stay wet. So that's something that we've been kind of fighting through on this project. This is our schedule, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes going over this to kind of explain what it is. If you want a copy of this, there's one in the back where the agendas were posted. I apologize, I sent over an extra sheet. This next sheet is just for you to take notes on, I suppose. But going through this, what we're showing here is the construction schedule, and I apologize, it's kind of hard to read up there. But we've broken this into kind of big chunks of work, as it were, and laid them out on there according to MDOT's time and usage formulas, I guess, for lack of a better term. So if you've got a group of projects, let's say laying pipe, MDOT knows that, after doing project after project after project, that you can lay X number of feet of pipe per day, so many feet of pipe to do, that equates to a total number of days. You lay it out on the schedule. This is how we planned our, how we came up with how many working days would be allowed in the contract, and this is the general schedule that we're following on the project. The thing that's been updated since this was originally done is you can see kind of that dark bar running up and down. That's December of last year. And I kind of grayed that out because we did not have any working days counted in December. We had a wet site, had a lot of rain, and it just really never had any days that we could work. To the left of that is 2022, and I've adjusted each month to reflect how many actual working days we got each month. And if you look down across the bottom, the red numbers show months that we had less working days than we anticipated. The blue numbers show months that we had more days than we anticipated, and the black numbers, we actually hit the number of days that we anticipated. So that's how that's been adjusted, and we're showing, you know, that you can see on there that we're working through the number of working days, and per the MDOT Red Book, using the number of days that we anticipate for each month, you know, we're showing this project being complete sometime in August, later this year. Now, that comes with a caveat. What is a working day? We've said working day several times since we started talking, so this is the definition out of MDOT standard specifications. I'm not going to bore everybody in here to read this, but a working day is exactly what you think it is. If a contractor can work for 8 hours, that's a working day. Whether he actually works or not is irrelevant. If he can work, then we count it as a day. You know, other caveats go into this. If he can't work in the morning, or the site's too wet, or he can't work on certain critical path items, then we don't count it as a day. But what this means is, if it rains on Tuesday, he can't work, we don't count that as a day. If we go out on Wednesday and the site is still too wet to do anything, we don't count that as a day. But on Thursday, if we get out there and the site's dry and everything's, you know, the birds are out and chirping and it's a clear day, and he's not working, we still count that as a day. So I want y'all to know that, you know, the engineer, Jeff and I, our field personnel are out there every day reviewing the site. If the contractor can work, we're going to charge a day, regardless of what he's getting done, whether he's doing something or not. So that's, you know, a working day. And the trade-off there is, you know, I know it's frustrating for folks, because I can't say we're going to be done on this date, and I have to say we're going to be done when the working days are through. But what the city gets in return for that is a much better bid cost, because the contractor doesn't have to take into all that risk of when he can work and when he can't work. So that's what a working day is. That's pretty much everything we had. We're trying to hit some questions that I know everybody's, you know, generally has about construction projects. Overall, I can tell you, this project is, I mean, Jeff was, you know, when he was calling me old, he also mentioned I've done a lot of projects, and that's true. And this project has a lot of similarities to a lot of other projects. We've gotten in here and we've kind of started digging around, and we found some new stuff, and we're dealing with it in a timely manner and moving forward as fast as we can. No project ever goes, you know, exactly like you want. You put a shovel in the ground, you find all sorts of stuff. But we're dealing with those things and moving forward, and that's my email up there. That's the best way to get me. I encourage anybody, if you've got a question and you want to know something, hit me on that email. And because if you ask these guys, they're going to ask Jeff, and Jeff's going to ask me, and by the time I get back around to you, it's going to be 3 days gone. So just cut to the chase and shoot me an email whenever you want. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Shancy.
And just for the council members, we have a standing construction meeting that's every other Monday at 10 o'clock here in this room. So if you ever want to attend, please do. We have an agenda. It's something that looks like this, very similar. And then Craig usually follows it up that afternoon or the next day with his minutes, or actually not minutes, his understanding of what was discussed in that meeting, and he writes them in blue, and we send them back out to the city staff as well as to the contractor to make sure that we heard the same thing that you guys heard. So there's no misunderstanding as to what was discussed during that meeting. If there is a misunderstanding or there's something different, then we'll correct it and send it back out, and this becomes project record.
Thank you, Mr. May. And they would also have to coordinate that through our city manager and our form of government to attend those meetings, because we cannot have more than more than 3 of us there if you made a quorum standpoint. So we can't be violating our right. So Ms. Chancey, that would have to go through her office. Thank you, Mr. May, for coming. And Mr. Overstreet, do we have any questions from the citizens? If we do, regarding the project after the update for the engineers, please come to the podium here and state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. No citizen
My name is Anthony Snow, 2205 Howling Drive. Thank you very much for allowing the opportunity for Mr. May and company to come and give us an update. The first question I have is, how many working days are they on thus far?
We're on day 163.
I know you mentioned that you don't have control, or is any representation here from the contractor?
They weren't requested to be here, Mr. Snow. This is a project that the engineering firm oversees, and they're responsible. The contractor reports to the engineering firm. They oversee the contract.
Okay. Only reason why I mentioned that because that I know in his presentation he says that he can't control the daily work schedule that the contractor does, but a lot of people are very concerned about, like, why when they drive down there that most you only see 2 employees working. And I don't anticipate that's a question you can answer.
And as
Exactly.
right, and Mr. Sen, just so you know, as you heard tonight, that it don't matter even if the contractor, unfortunately, that's the law and how the state works on this type of construction contract. So they're awarded so many days, working days, so that is, you know, we can't get on to them, Mr. May and them can't get on to them, nobody. They can work when they want to work as by the statute that was presented.
But at the same time, not to interject, once they hit that 279 working day, then we can hit liquidated damages on them.
Okay.
So it's in their best interest to avoid those liquidated damages to finish their project within the 279 working days allocated to that project.
And you don't think it's a possibility that once they realize they get close to that working days, they might just start speeding up and doing something in a manner that's
That's their means and methods. That's their means and methods. And
You know
if they
what I'm
don't do it per the construction documents, they'll shut them down.
Okay.
These guys will be inspecting everything they do, so if they can speed up, they're gonna speed up doing a good job.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
And to be honest, I agree with you. I feel there's some construction best management practices that they could be following better as far as specifically their muck excavation and undercut backfill, leaving
Right.
open trenches and so forth. But at the time, so long as they're monitoring that site and they're not asking for additional quantities due to those delinquencies, and they're losing their working days, that's on them. But like I said, once they hit 279 working days and they have not completed their contract per the plans and specifications, and the city is capable of imposing liquidated damages on them, and I've been very vocal on saying that we will invoke liquidated damages on them if they surpass those 279 working days.
Whether you think they were aware that this meeting was happening today?
Yeah, and they were not requested to be here.
No, what I mean by that is it's been very obvious that they've done a lot of stuff over the last week.
3 minutes.
It's like they knew that this was going to happen, and they tried to clean up, level ground, did all kinds of, I saw a lot of improvement over the last week.
When it's dried up a lot.
May I ask,
Yeah.
that also had nothing to do with this meeting. We have-
Say again?
That also had nothing to do with this meeting.
No, I meant the
Myself-
presentation.
Or the presentation.
Okay.
Myself, Mr. Craig, who just came on, Jeff May, the project manager for the contractor, Ms. Stennett, and Ms. Brenda right here, have met almost weekly to get on the same page and move this along. They have had very clear direction and have followed that direction and have agreed with everything that the engineer has put out, that we have requested, it's going very smoothly. They had some clear direction, and so therefore they went and performed what they were asked to do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other citizen questions on this presentation? Okay. Any council questions for the engineering firm on the presentation?
I do have one.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I see the activity in there. We just got to make sure that I know there is a cleanliness clause in the contract to make sure that they keep a clean and sightly project site going on. So I'm glad to see there were some improvements there. We need to make sure, or y'all need to make sure that they follow through on those cleanliness factors and they're pulling out debris and hauling it off rather than leaving the stockpile for weeks at a time.
Yeah, that was one of our topics of discussion in our past couple of meetings.
Thank you.
My concern, and I've already asked this to the city to discuss it with you all, is the large dirt ditch that exists on the south side of the road from the Gautier Van Cleve Road little store there, all the way to where the ditch turns south and goes into the wetlands and then the Sioux Bayou. We're dumping about 4 good-sized 30-inch stormwater drain pipes straight into that ditch, and then, I mean, they're shooting right straight against the wall of the ditch, and then it runs parallel with the road, and it turns 90 degrees down there, where it turns and goes in the little road, it goes down to the lift station.
Yeah, yes, sir.
My concern is a 30-inch slug of water piling into that wall of that ditch, a dirt ditch, in 4 locations, and the erosion that it's going to do, which is going to go into wetlands, pristine wetlands, and then into Sioux Bayou. And to me, it looked like it should have been a concrete ditch, but it's going to remain a dirt ditch from what I understand.
No.
What are we going to do to enforce that ditch?
That's going to have the soil reinforcement mat in there. And if I'm not mistaken, where you're saying it's making that hard 90, it's going to be a riprap.
It will be.
It will be riprap.
To take that hard turn.
Yes, to take the stress out of that, yes.
And that ditch is going to be sufficient for those 4 drops into it?
Yes, sir.
The ditch like it is now, or is it going to be bigger?
It's going to be widened out and shaped.
Widened out and shaped?
Yeah, we're not going to leave it like it is right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to say you can't get riffraff in it, so there
You
right
can't get
now.
it in there right now. It's going to be shaped a lot better because that temporary asphalt that's there will be pulled back.
Oh, it will?
Yeah, it'll be pulled. That's not the final cross section.
I thought
That's
maybe we're
just-
going into the woods.
No, that was just to shift the traffic over.
Oh, okay.
So we could have that room to put the barricade up and do our work on the north side. Once the work on the north side is going to come up, that barricade will move, and then that asphalt will come up, and there's actually a little bit of sanitary sewer work that has to be taken care of down near Homestead.
Yeah, further down, yeah, I understand. Okay, so there'll be a curb there,
Yes.
and then some, I should say landscaping or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be
Grass
a
area,
grass
and
buffer.
the ditch won't be right next to the road.
No, sir.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Councilman Allen, you have some?
You advised that you have people out there inspecting it
Yes, sir.
every day on site. I'm getting a lot of feedback from the residents that live in that community adjacent to the project that the roadways are hard to drive, especially after storms, they're tearing up their cars. Is there anything we can do with these inspectors to notify somebody that there might be a washout or something like that where these...
Well, and I'll tell you, Mr. Peru and Mr. Derricks, that they notify the contractors almost immediately that, we got a little rough spot here, let's go put a little stone in there. For most of it, they've gone and paved those temporary pipe crossings to better that riding surface. No, it's not great, I'll promise you that. We have 2 other pipe crossings down near the apartments that those will be next on the list. Those are the ones that are having to maintain a lot more because they are rock and they're aggregate, so they will kind of wash out as it rains. But they've been doing a fairly good job. I know our guys kind of stay on top of it, but it's something we've got to constantly do. Of course, we've been getting rain almost every day, it seems like, and we got more this week coming.
Well, I would just request that if we have inspections out there every day, that they're on top of that, because if I lived in that area, I'd be kind of livid myself.
Understood.
So
We'll make a note of that. Yes, sir, we'll put that on our
I was
agenda.
gonna say, we'll put that on the agenda item, make sure we put on that.
And if you don't mind, while we're talking about that, like on a Saturday or Sunday, we get one of these 5-inch rains, and that's when it washes those cuts he's talking about out. And I went a few weeks ago and had to call it in, where it was a 12-inch drop in one of those rains. And y'all jumped on it and fixed it, but I had to call in and get the attention there. If we'd have somebody that monitoring our rain events, and I think y'all doing that now.
And we are. So one of the Gulf Breeze construction personnel, I think his name is Mr. Skylar Mashburn, he lives in the project corridor. So he rides it
Right, I think he was one that really took care of that
Yeah,
last.
so he'll run out there and jump on the back of it and sweeten it up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Paul, when did this initial groundbreaking of this project start? Was it 2012? The initial groundbreaking on this project?
We just finished acquiring, the project has been on the books. It was originally a Jackson County project. And then when we annexed the area, we took it over. Because we had to comply with federal acquisition guidelines, we spent, I guess until maybe 2018, 19, just acquiring the necessary right-of-way. Then the next step was, correct me if I'm wrong, we had to demolish the buildings, the structures that were there. Then we had to move the light poles or power poles or whatever utilities got. And then the project wasn't actually bid, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was in 2020, the end of 2020.
Actually, 2021, because we awarded the
2021.
contract and they had a notice to proceed in November of 2021, so we bid probably in the spring of 2020.
Well, if you recall, it bid twice, because the first time it came in over budget. and
That's
we had
right,
some
that's
additional
what
funds. Yep.
So when the notice to proceed was given to the contractor, that is technically they had the groundbreaking, as you think of it, or the project beginning, was in November of 2021.
Just for clarification for people that may be watching social media or in public, you giving us a estimated time of August of the end of this year sometime towards that time frame?
That's what's currently on our schedule, and that's what we're working towards.
Based on the number of rain days and then
Number of working
Red
days.
Book.
Correct. There's a lot of caveats there, and I hate to say that. Unfortunately, we're not working under a shed.
Well, what they need to do is lay down a few pallets of sod, and it probably won't rain for about 6 months.
Right.
Anything else, Councilman?
We can't hear you.
The date, but that is all pending weather, and it could change. The anticipated date that he just announced would be sometime in August of 2023, which would be this year.
Is that based on every day being a working day that they can work? Or
No.
do you actually put in rain days in there?
The rain days figured, yeah.
Go ahead, let them.
I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
It does have rain days figured in there, so MDOT over the years has tons and tons of data. So they have basically a schedule that says each month, this is how many working days you can normally anticipate.
And for clarification, working days is Monday through Friday. It's not a Saturday and Sunday.
Unless he works on Saturday, then you can count
If
it.
he works, then you can count it, yes.
Yeah, that definition of working day was a snippet of about 3 pages, as you well know.
We got, Councilman Jackson's got a question.
Yeah, so the complaints I've been getting was mostly just like overgrown grass that's falling on, or trees or whatever, branches that's falling onto other people's property. Will those issues be addressed? I had somebody complain to me that it was some overgrown grass or whatever it was, and he had called me up, and I said, well, I'll address it. And then also,
If you wouldn't mind, if you have that address, if you'll email that to myself
Yes,
or
sir.
Craig, then we can
I'll do
actually
that.
look at it.
Okay. And I guess some of the similar things that they just said, a lot of them will complain about the mud, like going into Cameron Square, a lot of mud that's in the entranceway, going into those particular areas. And that's pretty much it. That's what I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Please send us that address and we'll
Yes, sir.
look at that and see what we can.
Will do.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman Gautier.
Just for clarification on working days, if I'm looking at this bar chart here, and if everybody wants one, they're back there, and if you got it, and you look on the bottom here, they talk about these numbers of working days. For instance, in April, it says 15. But it's 30 days in April, there would be 20, actually Monday through Friday in there. So MDOT has only calculated that they can have 15. Explain that again.
So in MDOT's Red Book, they tell you what this is, and it's based on historical data that they've collected over their years.
Can you talk really loud because them in the back are not hearing?
So it's based on years of historical data that they've collected over the years of how many days they can actually work during the month. And so it's an estimate.
Due to rain.
So it's an estimate of how many days based upon historical data. For instance, they're saying in the month of April, there's going to be 5 working days of rain. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Possibility?
That's a possibility.
Okay. So everybody needs to understand that when you're looking at this chart. You know, you're thinking there's, well, if you count all of the days in a month, they're not all working days. It's based upon MDOT's history, right?
Correct.
Now, if they have no rain days in April, they can work. They
can have as much as 20 days, and I think
as much as 20.
Yeah, what he's alluding to is if you see on that bottom of that, to the left in 2022, the red numbers represents the days he did not meet or was not able to work the anticipated work days. The blue represents the times and the days during the month that he exceeded the anticipated number of work days.
So he exceeded some months, but some months, for instance, July, he couldn't work for 15 days in 2022. How many days did he work in that July? Do you know?
He worked 15 days in July, but you would normally anticipate 21 days in July.
Well,
But if you
don't
remember,
have the anticipation days on here.
That's the actual, yeah, those are the actual work days.
Those are actual.
Those are actual.
for
Understand that.
2022, I put the actual, yes, sir.
Yeah. So this black from January forward is what is anticipated by MDOT's history that they can work.
Correct.
But they can exceed those months if there's no rain in those months.
Correct.
Okay. So, because they're getting short here. If they've done 163 working days and they got 279, ain't got but 110 days. I haven't added up this over here, but they're gonna have to work all in working days, hopefully.
Yes, sir.
Everybody understand that?
So like you said, the future is showing anticipated days, and that past is actually showing actual.
Correct.
The forward is anticipated days based upon MDOT history.
Gotcha.
Called rain.
Not yet.
If you can predict the weather, then you need to get to work with WLOX.
That's all I got. I just wanted clarification. I think some of the people in the audience was confused about working days.
Yes. Thank you, Councilman Gillette. I would second that motion. Jeff, I want to thank you. As you know, you do get a phone call every now and then from the city manager, myself, if I can't get her on the phone to let you know. But we appreciate the partnerships with everybody. And as you all know, the citizens, it's been going on, even though we just awarded that contract, it's been going on for many years, and they've been told many things for so long that they, one, don't think it's ever going to get completed, and two, they have to drive it. The citizens who don't live in that area, I would highly encourage you to avoid the area. I mean, if we have frontage road, and I know it might be a 2-minute or something, 3-minute detour, not even that. The other day I timed it and it was less than a minute myself, because I went to time it just to see.
15 seconds, I've timed it 3
So
times.
I encourage you, if you live anywhere in that area and can go to frontage, to go to frontage road. That would help the contractors, etc., and also help on the wear and tear of your car. But as we all know, we're elected officials and we do drive that road and we do see the pains and the frustration because we all deal with it too. So the citizens are not alone. Us elected officials have the same feelings you do. So I encourage everybody to just try to stay positive. As you heard tonight, it's not sexy, it's not fancy, it looks a hot minute mess. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be like Highway 90 out here. We had speed bumps, we all fussed about it, we got a nice paved road, and now it's ND 500. Now I get complaints that we got too many people speeding. Mayor, councilman, can we get the police out there? The police are out there, but they also gotta look out for their safety sometimes also. So, y'all have your minutes. No. So I just want to thank you all. I want to remind the citizens also that the contractor is invested in our community. We didn't hire a contractor outside of Jackson County. It's good to have a contractor in the city that you live and work sometimes. They are committed to get the job done. They brag on Ms. Stennett all the time. Unfortunately, sometimes, have you heard, sometimes the project was on a hold because you're waiting on some answers. You heard Ms. Yancey say that. So perhaps that caused some stuff to be stagnant, waiting on some answers. But now you heard they're moving forward, they're working together and got a plan. The contractor also, I want to remind everybody, and Mr. May can attest to Ms. Yancey, this contractor was awarded before the rising cost of construction material. The contractor has had to eat the rising costs because the way it was bid. Unfortunately, how the state law reads, the contractor has to eat it. So he's also committed to still doing a project and didn't turn his back and walk away and has continued to move forward. So we thank him for his partnership in that. So they are committed to Gautier, Mississippi and working with our city manager and staff and look forward to being here for many years. Not only did they have a small building, but they built a second building here. So we appreciate them. Once again, thank y'all for coming, and we hope y'all all continue to work together and we can get the project completed before the anticipated date, because I know the contractor, that is his goal, to beat the deadline. So he continues to say that, and we'll see if he can hold up to it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If you have any questions, let us know. If not, we'll be working with Miss April on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us to business agenda item number 1, approval of a standard lease agreement for lighting services with Mississippi Power for Baco Park football field sports lighting in the amount of $1,155 a month for a term of 84 months by our Recreation Director, Ms. Chastity Bilbo.
Baco Park field lighting is in need of upgrades. During the revitalization of Baco Park, we basically took all of the lights to make all 3 fields work. We did not upgrade, they just got them in working order. During this past football season, we constantly had outages and we had some shortages. The contractor came back out on several occasions and was able to get the lights working. At first we thought there were some underground issues, but they worked through that. It's not underground, but it is out of the scope of the contractor that did the work at Baco Park. So it was suggested by our engineer, Austin, with Heflin Engineering, that we look into upgrading the lighting. I have Mississippi Power here, and so we're asking that we enter into the agreement so we can upgrade the lighting at Baco Park. And Mr. Aldon is here. If you have any of the technical questions, he can tell you they've been out there and what they found and how they propose to upgrade our lighting.
Thank you, Ms. Bilbo. Do we have any citizen comments? Any public comments on this agenda item? No? Do we have a motion by council to approval of the standard lease agreement for lighting services with Mississippi Power for Baco Park Football Field, sports lighting in the amount of $1,155 a month for a term of 84 months?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gilat. Do we have any discussion, starting with Councilman Jackson for Ward 2?
Yeah, I just thank you for getting things up and going in Baco Park, because it is a beautiful setting for our city. It's actually bringing a lot of people in from different parts of the city, or different other cities are coming in. So, and I'm just thankful for that, for y'all keeping it up and continue to work hard to make it a beautiful place for our city. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman Gilat?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for Mississippi Power. This contract, lease agreement, is going to be to maintain the poles and the lights on the football field and repair them at any point in time.
So our obligation to the city would be the fixtures, and on the football field, we need to replace the wire that is on the pole from the fixtures down
all the way
to the
down,
underground wire. That would be our obligation to the city.
Are we replacing all of the fixtures?
Yes, sir. We would take the existing HID or bulb fixtures, they would be removed, and in its place would be installed LED fixtures.
Okay, this $1,155 a month is just to be that. That's not going to pay the light bill while they're on, is it?
No, sir. That's not.
Shucks.
That's not a light bill. And one of the difficulties we ran into in trying to calculate your energy savings was the fact that those lights had been mismatched from different fields during the renovation, so we couldn't give you an accurate depiction of what that would look like.
Well, it looked pretty good, probably being LED.
Hang on a minute, I got the floor.
Okay.
Let's go, Councilman Anderson. Let's let him finish.
Okay, so you're replacing all of the lights with LED lighting. Okay, how long is this, you think this is going to take?
It just depends on the availability of the materials. The lights themselves would be the biggest delay. And at this point, we haven't been running with that fixture a delay of more than 6 to 8 weeks.
So you're basically talking start and do this in 6 to 8 weeks from now? If we approve this tonight?
If not sooner.
If not sooner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Will there be a timer put on that lighting of that field? Because sometimes I go by there at midnight and them lights are wide open and there ain't nobody out there.
Yes, sir. That is not something that we discussed in the scope of this work. That is something that could be explored as a turnkey. That would be something that we would have to discuss through Ms. Bilbo and the city to see if that's something that needed to be accomplished.
Well, I'd like to say that we look into that because, again, I've rode by there at midnight because I live south of there.
Yes, sir.
And that entire football field is lit up and there ain't a soul out there. And it lights up the whole, I'm surprised people across the street ain't complaining about it being lit up as much.
So far, I haven't.
Councilman
It doesn't happen all the time, but it's just, it does happen more than what I say occasionally.
If I might interrupt, I go through there, and when I see them, when I do catch them, I cut the lights off myself.
But you're out of town a lot.
Yeah, on the weekends is the only time it's a problem. Like through the week, I can catch it. But on the weekend, yeah, I'm too busy.
I would like to look into timers. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Gilat. Councilman College?
Yeah, I see here on the quote, there's a total of 24 of these fixtures, is that correct? How many poles do we have out there?
You currently have 6 poles, and there will be 4 fixtures per pole.
Okay, that answers that question right there. Then what's the lifespan, the average lifespan for these fixtures? What I'm saying is after this 84 months, it's a lease purchase?
Well, and that's something that at the end of the 7-year lease, we can continue the lease at that term for the lights as long as the city wanted to continue that lease. If the city said, hey, we want to purchase these lights, then we could explore the option of it being a turnkey where Mississippi Power sold the lights to the city.
Okay, yeah, I understand lights are expensive. When I add up to 1155 times 84, it comes up to a pretty good chunk of change. So in other words, these fixtures are not paying for themselves over the course of this 84 months?
Those fixtures will, and the other thing that we do offer with the maintenance that's attached is if there's a storm that comes through and those lights are spun around all different directions, if you own the lights and we have sold them outright to you, you're going to have to call someone to come spin every one of them to turn to face the field in the angles that they're supposed to be. In that case, we would be the ones to come out here and maintain our lights because we still own them. So we have to figure in whatever circumstances that we would have to maintain.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Anderson.
Yeah, could we possibly look into working with Mississippi Power on coming up with some kind of a, I don't know if it would be a timer, or let's fix the switching where some child can't come along and flip the switches on. I mean, Councilman Jackson knows where the switches are. I used to know when I played out there years ago with my son, but I mean, can anybody come along and just turn the lights on and off as they please?
Yes, sir.
That needs to be fixed. We don't need that to be that way. That we need to work with them on figuring out some way to lock the control box where that they can't just be switched on and off at any time of night by anybody. And would you answer Councilman Galott's question on the difference in cost of LED to HID? I mean, like a tenth, 1/10 of the cost? Or?
So normal stadium lights, like you've got out there, are going to be 1,000 watt or 1,500 watt bulbs. So we would have to calculate what they are, 1,000 or 1,500 watts. The fixtures that are LED that we have proposed are 500 watt. So if it's 1,000 watt, then you can basically figure that you're consuming half of the power that you would if it were 1,000 watt, or a third if it's a 1,500 watt.
Right. So our power bill should go down considerably for that part.
If we work on other things, one of the things that we've looked at with other fields is installing electronic controls. So at that point, what you would do is you would take and put your physical contactors and whatnot higher so people can't access them, and you would control that through some electronic means.
That could be done remotely, right?
Yes, sir. Just like people turn on a light in their house over the internet. There are ways of doing that. We would again have to have discussions with the city to see what was in the best interest with the infrastructure that's in place at the park.
That might be a good idea down the road on the switching capability. Yes, sir. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. Councilman Elbin?
No comment.
I just want to thank our city manager, Chastity, and Mississippi Power. Thank y'all. Y'all do a great job at our Mississippi Municipal League Conference trying to educate municipalities and we really appreciate the partnership because, as you know, we don't have y'all as a service provider at all. We're one of the only cities on the coast that don't have any of your services. So we appreciate you partnering with us and working at other needed areas along our highway corridor and stuff. Y'all working with our city on looking at ways to save us money and our taxpayers money on our budget. So we once again thank y'all for your partnership. We have a motion by Councilman Jackson, a second by Councilman Galott. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 2, approval of scope of work with Wagner Engineering in an amount not to exceed $56,000 for work associated with preparing a grant application to the Environmental Protection Service, also known as the EPA, for funds to aid in the construction of a nanofiltration water treatment plant in the northeast Gautier on Lark Drive. by our Projects and Grants Manager, Ms. April Stenen.
Yes, Mayor. The EPA's community grant appropriations are STAG grants used to improve water infrastructure and water quality. We were awarded, as you remember, we had congressionally directed spending awarded to us an amount of $2.77 million to assist with this nanofiltration plant. After that was awarded, it was funneled through EPA, and EPA had to come up with a program and a way to distribute those funds. So they have come up with an application process to receive that funding, and it is pretty extensive. It does require a full NEPA analysis. It requires an infrastructure task force preliminary engineering report. We did attach, Wagner attached a breakdown of what's all required in each of those so that you just get an idea of what sort of information goes into that and the information that is needed to prepare that document. So essentially, you have to submit both of those when you apply for the funding, and it's required in order for you to get your award. So we do have Wagner Engineering here tonight. I just wanted you to know that this is a necessary step in order to get that funding, and it is extensive. So when you see that it's to help prepare a grant application, it's not just to help prepare a grant application, it's to do multiple things to get that grant in.
Thank you, Ms. Stenen. Do we have any public comments on business agenda item number 2? Any public comments?
I have a question.
If you do, come to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Very quickly, we'll take 3 minutes. I'm Brad Asbury from Hickory Hills. Greetings, folks.
Your address, Mr. Ashbury.
Yes, thank you.
Your address, Mr. Ashbury.
8605 Pinecone Drive,
Thank you.
Hickory Hills. Yes. Anyway, is this the filter that will filter?
Yes, an nanofiltration system.
Whatever it takes, get it through. I'm tired of that brown water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashbury. That brings us, any other public comments? No. Okay, do we have a motion from council to approve the scope of work with that Wagner Engineering in an amount not to exceed $56,000 for work associated with preparing a grant application to the Environmental Protection Service, EPA, for funds to aid in the construction of a nanofiltration water treatment plant in northeast Gautier, Mississippi on Lark Drive?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Jackson?
I see you agreed to that one. We were fussing earlier, but we agreed. We out of eye now. No further questions.
Councilman Gilat.
Yeah, I've got a couple. We were awarded the $2.77 million. Can somebody tell me what that date that was? Did they authorize that?
It actually was not this past year, but the year before.
So,
It was when they came out, they don't call them earmarks anymore.
okay, so it's been a year and a half.
It took EPA that long to come up with.
So it's taken EPA that long to
Yes.
come up with requirements for us to get the money.
Right.
So they didn't start till after we got awarded that
Right.
money?
That's correct.
Somebody been complaining to EPA?
Yes.
Okay, now that we're doing
Good
that,
thing it
and we
wasn't the
have-
Corps.
Go ahead, Councilman Gilat. Let's,
I'm gonna go down and
come on, Councilman. We ain't having
now
that
that
tonight.
we authorized Wagner to go do this grant, how long is that gonna take? Does anybody have an idea? Ah, hello.
So we will start when you guys approve, if you guys approve, we will start next week on the actual scope of work. There's 2 parts to it. That's very extensive. The NEPA report will take a month or more, and then the engineering report will be simultaneously. So we're looking at maybe 3 months to fulfill the whole obligation for the application.
Now, once we submit this to EPA, is there a standard time of when we're gonna get?
This is the first program they've ever done, so we don't know what
Where does it go? Back up in that hole in Washington DC?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with it though.
You're gonna go up there with it? You're gonna take it up there and meet with the EPA?
Yes, sir.
Is this Washington or Region 4?
If it's Region 4, then they're all
Atlanta.
the same. Well, the Region 4 is Atlanta, yes.
Yeah, right, that's what I meant. Is this going back to
Yes.
Washington or to Region 4 in Atlanta?
Region 4.
So it's in Atlanta.
I'll go with you when you go deliver it.
I'll go to the office in Gulfport, I'll go to the office in Atlanta and DC.
And whatever is necessary, okay? I got a personal question for you. You gonna drive that EV vehicle back to Washington? Back?
He's got a lot of charging to do it.
I will, yes, sir.
Thank you.
So this is not in, we're gonna be possibly with EPA, who knows, another year or so?
I don't have any idea what their process is. It's a positive and a negative. With the money you got through the Corps for the first one, the Corps actually has a lot of control, and you have to go through the Corps processes because they are actually constructing it. That is very slow. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we make it through this brand new application process that EPA has, then it's simply a turn in a reimbursement thing, not them building it and controlling it. So it does have a positive side. The negative side is that...
Is that a guess on your part?
No, that's a fact.
Okay.
But I'm saying, they've never done this program, so I don't know what their timeline is for saying, okay, you passed all the mile markers, you're ready to go.
And they really don't know what their timeline is either. We've done all of the training with EPA and then on all of the webinars, they have not given a definitive timeline.
Carlos is gonna go speed them up.
I got it.
All right. That's it. I ain't got no more.
Thank you, Councilman Gluck. Councilman College?
All right, so there is no chance we'll lose this money. We've just got to go through the processes in order to get this reimbursed back to us. Okay, when you get it done and you go deliver it, you let me know. I'm going to ride with you.
In that EV vehicle?
Whatever we got to do. If we got to fly, ride, drive, whatever it is, I'm going to go with you.
Good.
That's all I have.
Councilman Anderson?
No comment.
Councilman Elvin?
No comment.
I'd just like to thank our city manager and April and Carlos with Wagner Engineering, and also Shelley with Cogent Strategies, and our former Congressman Stephen Palazzo and Senator Cindy Hyde Smith and Senator Wicker. They were all big partners to get this money. They saw the need that we needed that infrastructure in the northern part of our city. So it was a partnership. Y'all put a lot of work into it. We're not in Washington, but we have people in Washington that work for us, and they do a fine job. So we're glad to have their partnership, and thank all of you. And as you heard, it's a new process, but we're the guinea pigs, and we'll get it done. So we got great stuff to do it. We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Anderson. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 3, consideration for the abatement at 7313 Martin Bluff Road, Gautier, Mississippi, James O. Hill, PID number 854322006.000 by our planning director, Mr. Scott Ankerson.
Sir, Mayor, thank you. This recommendation comes from the code enforcement staff to cut and remove the rubbish, trash, and debris from the abandoned property at 7313 Martin Bluff Road. As y'all know, over this past weekend, there was extensive cleanup performed on the property. We've been back out. It's 99% clean the last time I went out there. We feel like we're going to finish up pretty quickly. Still wanted to leave it on the agenda for y'all as we did perform the public notice, and spent city funds to notify and go through this process. So just kind of leave it up to council to decide if y'all want to give us some more time or extend this without us having to take action. I feel like we're going to finish the cleanup, but just wanted to keep it on the agenda for y'all to decide.
Thank you, Mr. Ankerson. Do we have any public comments on, first of all, before we open it to public comments, I think it's right that I would like to personally just thank the planning department and everybody who worked on this. And if you saw the news, you know the story. And if you didn't, I encourage you to go read the story because it's very motivational. So with that being said, after the board talks, I would like to recognize some people here this evening who had a big partnership in it. So do we have any public comments related to the abatement business agenda item number 3? Any public comments? No?
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
What does it mean to keep it on the schedule?
Well, it was kept on there because it was advertised, it was paid. We had to pay newspaper, which is several $100s, the ad in the newspaper and all that. So the, planning department still leaves it on here, and then it's up to the board to decide what, to do. As in past, the board, when things go before us like this and it's cleaned up, like this property's been cleaned up and done, where it won't cost the taxpayers money when we abate it, sometimes the council, you still go through with and do something in case 3 months down the road, if something was to happen and a property get bad again, you don't have to waste the taxpayers' money to advertise again. You can just notify the citizen, give them a few days. If they don't do it, then you can go in there and still do the work. You have a 12-month period to be able to legally go on the property and do the work. So that's why you leave it on there. Does that answer your question, Ms. Mingo?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the board, as you know, it was cleaned up, as you heard Mr. Mankerson said. So the option is to go ahead with the abatement, and if we ever have to go back in there for 12 months or whatever the council
I have a question
decides
prior to
do.
doing a vote. You said it's 99% cleaned up or 90%. What are they lacking?
Yes, sir. The last visit I made, there was still the large container dumpster that was full. They needed to empty, and they had a pile beside it that they needed to put back in the new dumpster that they dropped. There were a few small items directly around the house, and that was all.
And all those have been, and they sent photos. Mr. Ankerson, all that had been removed by Waste Pro. The dumpster and everything.
Yes.
It's gone. And the stuff on the side of the lawnmowers.
That would be complete.
And Mayor, if I may, if you don't want to go through with adjudication, if there's a public safety and menace, you can also table this to a date certain and have that public hearing set for that date. Basically bring it back for review, ask Mr. Ankerson if it's 100% complete, and then at that point dismiss it.
And we won't have to advertise.
Correct. That's correct. If you table it to a date certain, so that anybody here would never come back on that date.
Which we already know.
I have pictures that show that Waste Pro picked up the dumpster on yesterday. We had 2 piles of stuff that couldn't fit in the dumpster. Kenny from the golf course compiled all of that today and got that out of there. So everything's been done. And we have pictures that show that. So if you want to just look at the pictures, I just don't want to weigh it over his head. Everything's been done.
I don't want to weigh us over that, but what I would suggest is if y'all want to do it, I'll make a motion that we table this into March the 7th and verify all the work's been done. And if we determine that there's more additional work to be done on that property, then we can possibly get some grace. I know this property has been kind of a thorn in the side, and I understand the whole situation behind the deceased and the family members and so forth. But it has been a terrible eyesore in the community for far too long, and I want to make sure, me personally, make sure that it is actually followed through with full cleanup. It stays in that condition. So I make a motion that we table this abatement hearing or the continued abatement into March the 7th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Elbin. Any discussion?
Yes, so once March the 7th, this is over, right? This is completed. There's no, like, they finished whatever, like she said, she already finished it. And I want to ask him because I, just want a good understanding. Everything's been completed, so therefore, once March the 7th, this is off the books completely, am I correct?
It'll be what the board decides, yes.
Right, but I'm saying once it's completed and we vote on it, that she's cleaned it up, everything looks good, it is completely off the books, am I correct?
Councilman Jackson, what you would do is you conduct your public hearing, and then based on what you expect the information presented, you would have a finding that there is not a public safety or menace to the surrounding area, and then therefore there would not be an abatement authorized.
Right, that's what I was saying, making sure it's completely off the books. After we vote on it again, it's completely off the books.
That is correct, unless there was a future violation.
Right, because I asked that because he was saying, like the 12 months, et cetera, and that's the reason why I asked. I'm making sure that this is not something we just tabling.
Correct. If you found at that hearing that there was no public safety or menace to the community, then that would be the end of it.
Got it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And then also, my comment is, next time, well, go ahead, Councilman.
No comment.
I understand, but next time let's go out to the property before meeting if we only have one or two, and let's check, because this definitely, everything, they have worked with our planning department clearly to even get the power and services turned on, and they couldn't do that until our code enforcement and people were there and inspectors, and they literally our staff was on the property today to approve that so they could get it turned on. And so all that was removed when our staff was there. So next time before we have an abatement and we know it's done, if we could please make sure we do that. Councilman College?
No further comments.
Councilman Anderson?
So going this route, in March 7th, we say it's all good and it's all dropped.
Yes, sir.
In a year, it's back unpresentable. We have to start the process all over again.
That's correct. You have to go through the public notice process, and staff will present to you the new item, the new correction.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Councilman Nelson?
No, I'd just like to say it was encouraging to see the community step up and help this gentleman out. And that's definitely commendable. And whoever's here that helped, I sure do appreciate what you did to help him. And that's all I have.
We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Albin. All in favor? Any opposed? And one is absent. Motion carries. I would like to ask that Miss Monica Mingo with that Gumbo Life Waste Pro, Mr. John G. Boy cannot be here, but I ask that Waste Pro come to the front. I ask that Mark Galat with Hickory Hills Country Club come to the front. Troy Galat with Hickory Hills Country Club, if he's here, come to the front. And Jason Lindley with Quality Tree and Debris, come to the front. If y'all come up here. For the citizens, if you don't know, sometimes people fall on bad times or hard times. And Miss Monica Mingo is here. She owns a business here in Gautier. It's called That Gumbo Life. And no, it's not a restaurant. It's a retail store. And I encourage you to go there. It's got a variety of everything. They do furniture restorations, and you just should go see. But Miss Mingo reached out to me regarding this property and a former employee, and she really was determined. And when she called me, we were on days, as you know, it was on an agenda. So we worked together and she contacted Waste Pro, so we appreciate y'all's corporate sponsorship. I didn't, Ms. Mingo contacted them. The city did not pay for nothing. They agreed to put a dumpster on this blighted property to help. Mr. Mark Galat is over here, Hickory Hills Country Club and Golf Course. They have been asking what they could do, and Troy Allen Galat with them. They said we have a dump trailer, a tractor that we could just scoop stuff up and make the process faster. And when I say fast, we appreciate your dedicated employee y'all sent and y'all coming out there and some of your staff. But not only did they come out, but Ms. Monica put that on her business page, what she planned to help a citizen in our community. And it went viral. And when I say viral, we have people come from the Heritage Trust. That is a state level that live in Jackson County, not our community. They don't live in Gautier, Mississippi. They came here not with just that person, but their child, a youth in our community. That is dedication and giving back to a community, to make a community want to live, work, and get educated there and raise your family. And I cannot tell you, Miss Monica's, her husband and son was out there. I myself was out there. We had citizens who couldn't come that just saw, and they gave a contribution to help with other issues regarding the property. They donated. We thank them. I can't name all the citizens. If you're in the audience and you were there and worked, you can raise your hand. The citizens who showed up deserve to be thanked, and a certificate of appreciation to all the citizens. But this is what Gautier is about, helping one another when you fall on bad times. We have blighted properties in our community, and we want you, if you need help, reach out to myself, your councilman, our planning department, our city manager, our staff, our police department. We're here to help you. We're not here to put a hardship on you. We're here to try to find a solution. And these corporate people, they live in our community and they invest and they have their business here. So we thank them because that is what made this happen. I can't thank you all enough. And I know the owner of the property, he has personally sent his appreciation to everybody. He's very grateful and very appreciative. But just know, sometimes people fall on bad times, and we have to be there as a community to let them know we love them, we care, and we want them in our community. So with that, I'm going to read the certificate of appreciation. This certificate is proudly presented to Monica Mingo, that Gumbo Life, John G. Boyd with Race Pro, Mark Galat with Hickory Hills Country Club, Troy Allen Galat with Hickory Hills Country Club, and Jason Lindley with Quality Tree and Debris Service is not here, but we had some trees that were even dead on the property, and as you know, that cost a lot to remove them. So we partnered, called and reached out to several, and that was the one who said volunteer to do it at no charge and give back and be a part of their project. So we appreciate all of you all going above and beyond to help. And so it is in recognition and appreciation for your dedication and service to the citizens of the city of Gautier. I, in testimony whereof, I have given under my hand and affixed the seal of the city of Gautier, Mississippi. This the 7th day of February 2023. Mayor Casey Bond, city of Gautier.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Standing up for the photo.
You don't have to, Mr. Duff, you don't have to. I'm getting right up here with you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You just stand right there.
All right. Come on, forward and smile. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
It made me laugh.
Good, thank you. Thank y'all again. Thank you all again, and if y'all know of anybody, Monica, let's let Monica.
This went on too long. There was no reason for it. Somebody should have knocked on this door a long time ago, and you would have found out. a lot of stuff which would have broken my heart. And I feel sure that anybody in here, had they been a first person sitting next to him and hearing this, they would have done exactly what I did, okay? So our community is small enough where we should know who our neighbors are. We should be able to knock on their door and say, hey, I've noticed you haven't taken your trash out. Can I get a kid to roll it out to the street for you? You can't just pass things by and say, oh, they're, you know, this or that. We got to do something.
Right.
We are a small community. We pass by these houses and these streets every single day. There's no reason why we can't do something. This should not have taken this long, okay? That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Monica. Good job.
Great job.
All I want to say is unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there personally. I was out of town. I left Friday. I passed by the place, and I was reached out before then and asked, did I have anything I could contribute? I had a tractor with a bucket in the front and some rakes and shovels. We had all kinds of equipment. And I sent 3 or 4 of my first-class employees out to help. And when I come back in Sunday afternoon from an out-of-town trip, I looked over there and was going, wow, man, what a difference. And it was delightful to see how clean it got and how nice it was. And with a little bit of effort, we can do that a long way. And if anybody needs anything, if I can help them, I'll be glad to, any way down the road. So just holler at us if we can help anything. Any way, shape, or form, we can help. We'll be glad to.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you, and you're in our thoughts and prayers too.
Thank you.
As you just heard, I just want to encourage you. You know, yes, we have some blighted properties, and yes, they're rentals, and we don't know who live in them, and those property owners should help their tenants or reach out.
And this is my first time hearing about this, so I'm kind of shocked of everything that took place. So it's my first time hearing about it.
Yeah, so I just want everybody to know that it was put together not by the city, it's the community we live in. Mayor Vaughn didn't do it, a board member, Mr. Ankerson didn't do it, Ms. Yancey didn't do it. A citizen planned this community event to help a neighbor, and that is what a community is about. So if you see it, if you don't want to go knock on the door, you can reach out. We can see what the issue might be from our end to help you and guide you and put you and help be mediators or help get services that might need to be asked of other corporate sponsors that if they're willing, they will help. You just got to tell the story. So, and we thank our planning department for going out there at spare of the moment to do inspections to make it so we have everything there now and can rest comfortably. Thank you. That brings us to business agenda item number 4, approval of the resolution requesting certain actions by the Mississippi State Legislature concerning PERS by our city manager, Ms. Yancey.
As you all are aware, PERS has requested a 5% increase in the employer contribution rate. So that will mean basically that you will increase from paying 17.4% for each employee PERS to paying 22.4% for each employee PERS. Broken down just for the city of Gautier, that equals $306,890. And given the value of your bill, it's right at a 2.5 mil increase for the taxpayers of the city of Gautier. This resolution is pretty straightforward. It basically asks the legislature to require PERS to provide a long-term solution to prevent astronomical increases. It asks to provide accountability from the PERS board in the management of the retirement system, and for the state to absorb the increase or come up with some other solution besides strapping it on the cities. And we're not the only one in that boat. The estimated cost to the state as a whole, that includes the state and all public entities a member of PERS, is 225 million. Of that 225 million, 100 million of it would be borne by the 200 municipalities in the state, with the remainder being split by all other public entities. So this is asking the legislature to solve the problem, but solve the problem with less impact on the municipalities.
Thank you, Ms. Shanksy. Do we have any public comments on business agenda item number 4? None? Do we have a motion by council to approve the resolution requesting certain actions by the Mississippi State Legislature concerning PERS?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Gluck. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Elvin. Any discussion, starting with Councilman Jackson?
I just hope that we resolve this, because this is a high cut in our budget. So I'm just hoping we seriously let them know that the impact that it's going to have on our cities, and that's all.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. Councilman Gluck?
It is my understanding that the PERS board has asked the legislature to approve this.
Correct. Their board passed it.
Their
They
board
said
passed
that.
it, and they
Correct.
requesting approval by the state legislature. Right?
Currently, the bill that is there only
Was,
says, the bill that survived as of now, only says that any increase in employer contribution must be approved by the legislature.
right.
That bill, though, can be amended up until the end, whenever the session's over. So I'm saying,
And that bill's sitting in,
it's sitting there. Yes, sir.
and it was, I can't remember the terms, but it's no longer active. It's dormant for some reason right now.
Yeah, it's just
So,
hanging out.
It's just hanging out. Somebody can bring it back to the floor,
Right.
which, and they got so many days to
Yes,
do
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
Now, but isn't the state also looking at other options to do this? Do you know, are you aware of them?
Well,
Or give them
I've
some other
heard
rules?
different ideas from different legislators, but I have not heard a collective. The only solid thing I've heard is they want a solution or a proposed solution to stop this kind of
Yes.
get
from
behind
the
that
PERS
law, so to
board.
speak. But that's the only, and I haven't talked to every legislator, I'm just talking to the ones I've talked to.
But again, the legislature has not approved this yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Anderson?
This bill, is it not gone to committee?
It has this very strange history. Part of it, I think, was on some news station, maybe it was a Jackson news station, but it all started, they took a bill that actually Busby wrote and completely rewrote the thing, and it came out, and that's what it came out as, and now it's dormant.
But if it
Basically
doesn't,
waiting on, I think, a response.
if it doesn't go to committee, it's dead on arrival, right?
Well,
It's out of committee.
It's out of committee, it came out like that, is the way I understood it.
Of Senate Appropriations.
And they approved it?
Senate approved.
What they rewrote.
What they rewrote.
What they rewrote,
But
correct.
Representative Busby did not write that.
here's an email that was issued today by the legislative
I got the floor.
committee.
No, go ahead.
I was going to tell you what it is if you want to listen.
Go ahead.
You're asking, so I'm trying to answer it. It's House Bill 1233, and it must be voted by the Ways and Means Committee by the end of the day on Tuesday. Well, it was supposed to be voted by January 31st, and they're asking people to contact your representatives to ask them not to do anything, to not let this thing go through. It is sitting there dormant right now, and nothing's happened on it. So everybody is being asked to contact your local legislator to tell them to vote no on this bill. They vote no on it, then I think they're going to turn around and ask the PERS board to come up with some other kind of solution rather than an automatic increase here. Come up with some other way to raise the money that they think they need.
Do we know what the increase is, the reasoning behind it, what it's for? Is it they paying too much money out to retirees and whatnot?
No, the investment, the return on investment is not as anticipated to keep the HERS retirement fund a certain percent funded.
That's happening to all of us.
But that has to do with their choice of investments. Now, if you read the resolution from 2010, 2020, or 2011, 2020, something like that, the whole increase over that 9-year period was 5.4%, and they're kicking that right in one fell swoop in 1 year.
Hope they didn't have any money in crypto and Manny Murdoch. I assume all the other cities are doing the same thing we're doing probably, huh?
Yep.
Yes.
I think so. I know Moss Point is, and I saw the WOX article about the cost to the city of Ocean Springs, the cost to the school district. Both of those are right at $600,000 a year. Jackson County was $1.2 million.
And Councilman Anderson, to answer that question, it's a statewide thing, not just us in Jackson County. The Mississippi Municipal League has asked all boards to consider doing something similar.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Councilman Elbin?
Well, I have a vested interest in this, being that I'm a PERS retiree. I think that we need to make sure that the PERS retirement system is adequately funded, but I don't feel it needs to be strapped to the backs of our employees or the small cities that can't afford it. So I agree with this to move forward.
Thank you, Councilman Elbin. And just so the citizens, I can give a little bit of information. I, as the mayor, sit on the Mississippi Municipal League Board of Directors. They pick from every mayor does not sit on that board. They select who's there. The president, vice president have from the district has their choices, and they ask. Councilman Gautier sits on, along with myself, on the legislative committee that reports to the board of directors for the municipal league. We get updates from the municipal league daily when they're in session, and things that we have to call our legislatures and ask them to help us fight to get it passed or not passed. There's several things going on besides this that we're asking them not to vote and support, but this is the high topic. I was in the executive meeting in Jackson along with the other councilmen who were there, which was Councilman College and Councilman Gautier and Councilman George, along with Ms. Yancey, Mr. Danos. We were in Jackson for the Municipal League and our engineer, Mr. Seymour. And we basically, I was in that meeting and was informed of this, and immediately while sitting there, informed our city manager and our city clerk, Ms. Montgomery, asking what that would cost. When they told me, I was in shock. Other citizens, people thought, that can't be true. So after everybody got back to their cities, it don't only affect us, it affects the county, the board of supervisors it will affect them. The school districts, it will affect them. Any state retiree in this program, it will affect whoever their employer was. And if you didn't read, the county administrator said it would be between 1 million to 1.5 million, but they had said 1.2. So somewhere in that range for just the county. So we're looking at, if we have to raise taxes, then the county would have to raise taxes and the school district would have to raise. Can y'all imagine? It's just not feasible. As you heard Councilman Elbin say, he's part of the retirees and part of the system. We're all invested as elected officials in that too. And they just got to go, and the legislatures, I think, will do our right thing. Unfortunately, Representative Busby's bill was totally not how he wrote it, and when it came out, he was shocked. It was not what they used the same number, and that was not what he was requesting. So if you hear that, just know he was not in favor of immediately doing this and seeing the effect. Our representatives have asked us to provide them with what we're providing in this resolution, which wants to know what the dollar effect would be to our budget and what the millage increase in that value would cost if we had to raise taxes to cover it. So that is what we've put in here, which is what other cities across the state have been requested to do by the Municipal League along with their representatives that represent them in Jackson. So Ms. Yancey, we thank you and your staff for working diligently last week in a mad dash, because when they're doing this, you have to get your stuff to Jackson and to your representatives fast. We get a message at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock, things are voted on. You have a time frame that you gotta text your representative to tell them your support, because it changes by the minute in Jackson. So thank you for always hurrying and Mr. Danoff steering the session to get that information to us to get to Jackson. We have a motion by Councilman Gilat, a second by Councilman Elbin. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 4, approval of resolution. Approval of the business agenda item number 5, approval of the paid docket of claims. It was provided to us by our city clerk, Ms. Montgomery. Approve it of the docket of claims in accordance with Mississippi House Bill 1542 and Mississippi House Bill 1427, creating the Mississippi Law Enforcement and Firefighters Premium Program, previously adopted on September the 6th, 2022 by our city clerk, Ms. Montgomery. We all received this. It was attached. Does any public comments on this?
I think it'd be beneficial for a staff member to be able to provide what we're doing right here.
Ms. Montgomery.
During COVID, the federal government issued money to the state in ARPA funding, and mid-last year, the state decided to push this out as a premium pay program to firefighters and police officers. And the time frame that they decided to use for it was July 1. So any police officer and firefighter that we had that was certified working for the city on July 1 received this pay. They all had to do a training thing on, how to deal with COVID in the city and out in the environment. They had to sign an affidavit that they had done so. We took this information and we sent it to the state. And in January, the state sent us the money for them. We had, the council approved this on September 6th for us to participate in this program and issue it. That's why the checks were cut outside of the normal docket process, because they had already been approved. I cut those checks and issued them, and then this is the proof, so because we have to keep an audit file on this program for the state.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Any citizen comments? Any public comments on this agenda? No. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Councilman Gilat. Any discussion starting with Councilman Jackson?
No comment.
Councilman Gilat?
No comment.
Councilman College?
No comments.
Councilman Anderson?
No.
Councilman Elvin?
Glad they got it.
Amen. Once again, we thank our legislatures and everybody who did this to make it, because it was well deserved. We have a motion by Councilman College, a second by Councilman Gilat. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to business agenda item number 6, approval of the docket of claims. They were provided by our city clerk like they are every month. They're online. They were attached to your agenda that were emailed to the board. Do we have any public comments on the docket of claims? None. We have a motion by council.
I make a motion, we approve the docket of claims provided that all entries thereon are true, correct, properly entered, and not fraudulent.
We have a motion by Councilman College. Do we have a second?
So moved.
Second by Councilman Jackson. All in favor? Motion carries. Councilman Jackson, what's going on down there? We have consent, oh, you looking up, okay. Consent agenda item. All items are approved in one motion unless anybody wants to pull one. We have consent agenda item number 1, approval of the minutes from recess council meeting held January 17th, 2023.
I want to pull 12, 9, and 13.
Which one?
12, 9, and 13.
9, 12, and 13.
I wrote it backwards, so I'm ready to read it as I got it.
Does anybody else want to pull anything else? Two, receive November 2022 finance report. 3, approval of water and sewage adjustments for February 2023 in the amount of $19,554.51. Authorization to remove office equipment from the City of Gautier's inventory. 5, authorization to advertise for bid for Jackson County Civic Action Gautier Head Start drainage improvement. 6, authorization to advertise for bid for Jackson County Animal Shelter Water Main Extension Project. 7, authorization for the Gautier Mayor's Youth Council to travel to Oxford, Mississippi for the Mississippi Municipal League's 2023 Statewide Youth Leadership Summit. 8, authorization to accept a donation of office furniture for the Gautier Fire Department. 9 is being pulled, which was the order authorizing the settlement of a doubtful and disputed claim, directing payment, and authorizing the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to settle the claim, and authorizing the city's clerk's department to issue a check as indicated. 10, resolution expressing intent to grant tax exemption request for Magnolia Landing Investments LLC. 11, approval to establish Duval Ford LLC as a single source supplier of Ford Interceptor SUVs and authorize the purchase of 6 Interceptor SUVs for the Gautier Police Department. 12 is being pulled by Councilman Jackson, but it's approval of a letter of support for Singing River Health System. And 13 is being pulled by Councilman Jackson, approval to renew and extend the agreement with Cogent Strategies LLC. Do we have any other items by board to be pulled? Do we have a motion to approve 1 through 8 and 10 through 11?
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Gilat to approve items 1 through 8, 10 through 11, and a second by Councilman Anderson. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 9, order authorizing the settlement of a doubtful and disputed claim, directing payment, and authorizing the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to settle the claim, and authorize the city clerk's department to issue a check as indicated. By Ms. Shanksy.
Okay, the only thing I had on this is basically the tree cutting. So, I've addressed some issues with other trees and things like that. And I was wondering, is that our reasoning for taking care of this based off the tree falling? And so...
The tree was on our right of way. And I think that it was leaning or dead or something.
Dead, and we had a storm.
And when the storm came, the top part blew out and fell on the light line, on the right of way. But when the weight fell on the light line, it took such jerk that it jerked the weatherhead out of this person's house.
Right.
So because it was on our right of way and caused damage, they got a quote about what it would cost, which the amount is in there.
Right.
And so basically, this is council settling the claim and paying them what they spent to fix that weatherhead.
Right. So I asked that because I had other trees that people addressed it to me. They brought it to me as a complaint. They said the trees are leaning, and I was wanting to get them cut.
Are they in our right of way?
Yeah, yes ma'am, they're in our right of
If you
way.
want to get some trees cut that are in our right of way, and you know their location,
Mm-hmm.
you need to.
I did, I
Oh,
recorded
okay.
it, but that was a while back, but I was just, I noticed this, and I was like, I addressed it, and we didn't get to cut it because, for whatever reason. But, that was a while back, on some trees. I had, one in my ward, and there was one in, Cameron's ward, because they had called me, and I let Cameron know about it. But, I don't know if the issue has been resolved now, but it was a while back.
Do you
and,
remember the location?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Can you
I can go.
email them to me
right,
or
yes,
text
ma'am.
them to me, and I can
Will
get
do.
them from on where you go look at them? Absolutely.
Right. So that's all I have on that one.
Any other comments? Do we have a motion authorizing the settlement of a doubtful claim, disputed claim, directing payment, and authorize the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to settle the claim, and authorizing the city clerk department to issue a check as indicated?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a
Second.
Second by Councilman College. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 12, approval of a letter of support for Singing River Health System.
Okay, on this one, we're showing our support in the purchase of these vans. Is that correct?
Actually, Councilman Jackson, I received a thing from Singing River Health System. It was basically a sticky note, and it had one page and then a section which is attached to the agenda, basically wanting me to sign an application of support, and I would not do so. I gave it to our city manager and city attorney, and that's why it is on the agenda, because Mayor Vaughn is not signing something that I don't know what the whole 18 page or 23 page it was, and I'm only seeing one page.
Right.
So I was not gonna bind us to anything else, and Mr. Danos reviewed it, and that's why it's on the, it's basically to support them in their request to get probably some kind of grant funding.
That's correct.
Okay,
for
so
it.
this is it a match fund to it?
No.
Just
I'm not sure if it's a match funding on the health system's behalf, but they're requesting funding for their transportation system, and they've asked all of the municipalities in Jackson County that they service to just send a letter of support saying,
Okay.
we want them to go get this money.
Okay.
She doesn't require anything on our behalf other than a letter.
It's not binding us to any funds.
That's correct. It's not binding us to anything.
That's what I was
exactly
making sure.
why I would not sign it until we got more information besides a signature page and a snippet of what it was.
I have no further questions on that.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve a letter to support the Singing River Health System and requesting capital funds to purchase 2 17-passenger buses for their transportation services?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman College. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to consent agenda item number 13, approval to renew and extend the agreement with Cogent Strategies LLC by our city manager, Ms. Paula Yancey.
You want me to explain it? You just want to ask.
It would be good to explain it because I had a citizen ask me this question. He was asking me why we are utilizing the services on a continuous basis versus just utilizing it temporary and getting the whatever works we need from them, and then when we need them, utilize them. So that was
That's,
a
first of
citizen
all, the
question.
simplest explanation is that's not how that works.
Okay.
In that field. So we hired them in 2018, I believe. And I just ran the numbers of the monetary benefit you've gotten out of it directly from that, not what I call non-monetary benefit, which is helping with grants, calling and getting things moved around like you needed to be. Strictly money to the city.
Constant presence.
And a constant presence working with Wicker, Senator Hyde-Smith. She monitors legislation. I knew about the ARPA funds coming down and how much we were going to get before anybody else did. Because she went through and read it and sent it to me and sent me all the regulations. And I mean, so it's a constant presence and working with those people in DC. And even since Congressman Ezell has gotten elected, she has been reaching out and working with his staff, and she has a meeting with them on Thursday. But basically what the city has gotten in that short period of time is $8.5 million as a result of her work. You have spent right at $340,000. So I would say that is a wonderful return on investment.
I agree.
All right, he got your message. You got any questions on it? Good. Okay.
Mr. Ashbury, and just so you know, this is who helped get the water nano filtration system.
That's what I didn't know until I heard it. I know how valuable they are as lobbyists.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have no further questions on it.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve to renew and extend the agreement with Coach and Strategies LLC.
Second.
Wonderful. Motion by Councilman College, second by Councilman Jackson. Any discussion? Since it was pulled, can you please thank Shelley for all her hard work? We appreciate her and all she does when we can't afford plane tickets to get there every month to be on the steps of Washington, D.C. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to our study agenda. First is citizen comments. If you have any citizen comments, come to the podium, state your first and last name and your address, and you have 3 minutes, and Councilman Gilat is the timekeeper tonight. So Councilman Gilat, we thank you for being that timekeeper. When he does, that means time's up.
Amen.
Okay.
Once again, I'm Brother Brad Asbury, 8605 Pinecone Drive, up there in Hickory Hills. Greetings to everybody here. Smile! Smile, I won't keep you long. First of all, the update. Minute for that. I got the victory from the last meeting I was here about the trees over my house. The Mississippi wind pool, I don't know if y'all were involved, got to send out letters, either cut the trees on top of your, near your houses or above it, or you were going to cancel your wind insurance. That letter they were sent out was illegal, it was wrong, I got it in writing, the mayor's got a copy of it. Okay, I asked them to send me how many people since January 1st have lost their insurance, their wind coverage, because they couldn't meet this, and they told me that they didn't have that information available. And so I'm now going through the my congressman up there in
Jackson.
Your senator. Your senator.
Senator, yes, to find out from them what they actually sent out at 39553, because this affects a lot of people who do not have wind insurance right now, and we don't know who they are, especially up there in Hickory Hills. All right, that's number one. The second one is when I apologize for my outburst of not approving this one agenda, resolution to grant tax exemption request for Magnolia Landing Investments. I looked at this thing and I was shocked. They're going to build brand new luxury apartments over here off Highway 57, and according to this, and I don't know if it's an error, but it says either 10 years or 7 years, they ain't gonna get paid the city 1 cent in taxes. None, according to this, unless I'm wrong.
They are paying taxes.
Okay, well, why?
They're not paying the increased amount of the investment that you do to recruit economic development.
Yes.
You have to give tax exemptions.
Yes.
So they will pay what they've been paying, but any increase they might not pay. But there's a lot of steps in that, so they might not get it.
Okay.
They have to go get their funding, and there's processes. So we're just voting so we can help recruit business to the city of Gautier by offering them a means to offset some of their burdens to come here.
Excellent.
Do you understand that the taxes collected on that right now is about, what, $4,000 a year?
But then you look at the sales tax revenue that comes in from.
7
residents that live
years,
there.
4,000, what is,
We're using
seven-
Mr.
what is
Asbury's
4,000 a
time.
year for 7 years? When you got, say, 150 families coming in here and investing in our community and living in it, in an upper scale complex.
Yes.
So we're gonna benefit from it in other ways for 7 years.
Good.
But we're only losing, and we're not losing, the county, everybody, they're still paying school taxes. The county, city, and everybody, it's only 4,000. So the city share of that, huh?
Gordon, what's time is it? It's,
The city share of that is probably what, 1,500 maybe? I don't
No,
know.
it'd be on the improvements.
It was on the
How about on the
improvements.
land is $1,200?
Yeah.
That's it.
So the improvements would make it more, but still, we're
But-
gonna benefit for 7 years by having, say, 150 families here?
Yes. Yes. That's all I need to know is an explanation of what I got off the internet from council.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a blessed evening. See you next meeting.
Thank you. We're not giving nothing away, Mr. Ashbury. We're trying to get all we can get.
Got that right.
Mr. Nunn, would you like to elaborate in any way on that, or?
Pardon me, sir?
I asked Mr. Nunn if he would like to elaborate any on this.
I'd be glad to, yeah.
You don't have to, but I mean, if you,
No, I would absolutely be glad to.
Let's,
just name and address.
John Nunn, 1103 Eastwood, Pascagoula, Mississippi. Developer, my business partner Williams here as well. Got a number of other partners in this project, but it's something that we wanted to do for a long time. Saw a great need for what we're bringing to the city of Gautier. And the intent here is not to take anything away from the city, but to the contrary, to give to the city and to bring something to the city. Unfortunately, with a number of factors that have been working against us over the past year, we're invested for hundreds of thousands of dollars now to get across the finish line with financing. We've looked for help from the city in the form of an exemption. Excuse me, I wasn't prepared to get up and talk, and now I'm here. So we've asked for help in the form of an exemption, just in such a way that we're able to move forward with the project and don't have to walk away from it. And so it's really, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to it a little bit, because we wouldn't be able to do anything without the support of everybody here, and couldn't be more excited to be coming to Gautier and put this project in here. So any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me directly, and really thankful for everybody's support to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn.
and we also appreciate you working with our city staff. Ms. Shancy, what she did to accommodate y'all was really good.
Everybody deserves and will get, more apologies than, more gratitude than they can handle, because everybody's been phenomenal to work with, and that's why we're so excited to be here and to be moving forward. So, very much.
What's the location of the property?
It's on Highway 57, directly across from the north entrance to the Sunplex. So, you can see some trees cleared out there now, but it's, really excited about it, excited for that corridor, excited for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's not every day that we get a $20 million project, improvement project come to town. Thank you, John.
Any other citizen comments? Okay, that brings us to our council comments. Councilman Jackson.
I have no comment.
Okay. Councilman Gautier.
I'm said enough.
Thank you. Councilman College.
Everybody, please come out Saturday for our tailgate and our Mardi Gras parade. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson.
I'm getting hoarse, I better not.
Councilman Elden.
I would like to acknowledge and thank the administration at Sing River Academy. Mrs. Dee Ornelas, the ideas teacher. She did a competition, Amazing Shape. And what this is, it allows the youth in the community to try to develop ways to improve our community. And they do a presentation in front of, the council was there to witness their presentations. And I wanted to acknowledge these young people that were, it's encouraging to see them involved in what goes on in day-to-day operations in the city. And some of the main topics that I heard from them were the roads, the lighting, and more activities for the youth. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that, and eventually, when they finish the competition, it goes in several stages. We'd like to bring those youth here and present that, and we talked to the administration of Singing River, and hopefully we can have that come to fruition here. Lark Drive and Martin Bluff Road. I don't know who would inspect that sidewalk, but they're clearing that lot, and when they come out of that cleared lot, they're driving over the sidewalk. I don't know, because it's covered in mud. I'm not sure if it's being damaged or not. Is there any way we can get somebody to take a look at that while?
It's right north of the three-way stop, right across from.
Where
Lark
they've cleared
Drive.
that property on the corner of Lark and Martin Bluff Road, when they're coming out of that construction entrance, they're swinging wide and it's running out between the road and the new sidewalk and running over the sidewalk. So just need to make sure that we warn those contractors, let them know. Plus they need to address their construction best management practices too, because all their self-fencing got blown away. But that's what Councilman.
I'm just concerned because you can't see the sidewalk because they're driving over. I'm not sure there's any damage or not. The lighting, I sent an email, and I know you just got back on vacation. Right there in the curve between the Dollar General and Grandview Drive, it's very dark, especially in the curve, and there's several lights that are already in place, but the bulbs are out, or they're the old style bulb.
Yeah,
they're not LED. And maybe we can look at that and have those addressed where it's lit up a little better in that curve. Mr. Malone said there's a light on that pole, but it's facing his yard, and it shines into his yard and his house. If we can move that to the opposite side where it's doing a little bit more, what it's supposed to in that curve. If you could address that maybe with Singing River Power. And I sent an email, so you'll see that. Thank you for putting up the signage on Ferry Point Drive. I had some ladies here that were requesting the speed bumps in that location. And I know you just, like I said, you just got back, so we'll revisit that when it goes through our attorney and the city manager. Frontage road, on the edges, we fixed them before, but the edges are starting to crumble again, and there's mud holes, potholes in several sections, more so closer to the Gautier Van Cleve side. But if you could have somebody inspect that, because now it's encroaching on the white lines, maybe we can look at filling those with asphalt. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing, if you don't mind, back here on Dolphin Road, there's some lights that have gone out since
Yeah.
they fixed them.
And those are Howard, there's 3 of them. Howard has, I had to order the parts, and that will be fixed this week.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. I just want to thank all the staff. I know today seems like Friday, but we're going to get through it, and y'all doing a good job. They ain't getting us down. So thank you. Also, our Mardi Gras, as you heard from Councilman College, I encourage you to attend. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to all be good. We're going to have fun in the street and parade Mardi Gras in Gautier, Mississippi, like they do in every other city in Jackson County and New Orleans and Mobile. So come fellowship. We want to thank our community sponsors of that event, Black Door Boutique, Meredith Dickerson, Airmasters, Mechanical, which is Daniel Taylor, Christopher Crawford, and Ty Crawford, and also Monica Mingo with that Gumbo Life. We thank them for their partnership. Also, we have DJM Studios going to be DJing before the band. We have one of our own that the sponsors, that's what they covered was the music. Some of them, and that was Mr. Scott Ankerson is our planning director in their band, and they do a great job. So we are going to have the Crossroads band. So it's going to be fun. The tailgating, the food trucks, all you got to do is bring a chair because you can buy your food and stuff from the food trucks there. So, and we appreciate the Gautier Men's Club sponsoring and organizing that event. Also, I ask that you keep our police chief David Bever in your prayers, and his wife and children, because we lost our K-9 officer Justice, retired K-9 officer Justice, this past week on February the 1st, 2023. Justice was born July 25th, 2011, and its tenure here started in July of 2014 and retired in October of 2020. But when it retired, our chief now continued to give Justice a home and treat him as his own. So we thank y'all, and we know it's hard. Keep them in your prayers. That's all I have.
Tell us about the groundbreaking.
Also, we will have the groundbreaking for the amphitheater Friday at 1 o'clock at the Town Commons Park, where it will be constructed. You can park in the parking lot to attend. We will have visuals. It's a national kickoff on a national level of the amphitheater being constructed, with some branding and all that being announced. So come out and see it firsthand. It will not be live streamed due to the national marketing that the city has invested to promote that on a national level. So you come, you will see it. If you miss it, we will have a feature segment later, but it will not be live streamed, but you will be able to see a glimpse of it on our social media outlet afterwards with our national marketing team. So we thank you, Councilman Gautier, for reminding me to announce that. Our city manager, you have any comments, Ms. Chance? Our city clerk, you have any comments, Ms. Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
Deputy clerk, Ms. Dickerson? No. Our city attorney, Mr. Danos, he sent all of the board an email today. I hope you read it, and we thank you for your hard work. Then, do we have any a motion to recess until February 21st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.?
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Gilat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jackson. All in favor? Motion carries. We're recessed until February 21st.